Just like the recent Q&A with Sam Worthington, Empire Magazine also did a Q&A with Sigourney Weaver about Kiri and Avatar: The Way of Water. So in this video, let's dive into the most interesting aspects that they covered when it comes to Kiri. When it was announced that Sigourney Weaver had joined the cast of Avatar: The Way of Water, the internet rumor mill went into overdrive, conceiving the ways in which her character, Dr. Grace Augustine, could come back after seemingly being subsumed into the Tree of Life by Eywa. When invited to lunch by James Cameron to discuss the new film, the actor was as confused as the rest of us as to how she might return. I would have to say that even I was not sure where Grace went, based on the images that were shown, says Weaver. I think Jim hadn't quite made up his mind. He was just trying to figure out what would make sense with the story. I was delighted, of course, to be reincarnated as another person. The other person became Kiri, the 14-year-old adopted Na'vi daughter of Jake Sully and Neytiri, who is swept up in the adventure from the Pandoran forest to the waterworlds of the Metkayina tribe. Here she discusses the acting challenge of a lifetime. So right off the bat, this intro confirms a potentially huge aspect, which is Sigourney Weaver saying, "I was delighted, of course, to be reincarnated as another person," which, if taken literally, would mean Kiri is a reincarnation of Grace, as a lot of us had theorized. Where the confusion began was in a previous article with Cameron breaking down some scenes. The writer of the article had assumed that she was naturally conceived, and not just being a natural birth, which implied there was a father, but Cameron himself never stated that. So as I have always said, I feel she's equally both parts, and my current theory is that Eywa took the conscience of Grace and mixed that with Eywa itself, and planted that as a baby inside of the body of Grace's avatar, which led to the natural birth and why they preserved Grace's avatar in a tank. But let's continue with the Q&A. How would you describe Kiri? I think she has a deep love for all things in the world. Creatures, plants, everything. This is also true when she's underwater. She's at ease in these natural environments and very comfortable with all the different creatures. It's a touching story, because we have to leave our home and we have to leave the forest and go to this new environment. And I think what I loved about what Jim did was that she is a very typical adolescent. She's very self-conscious, filled with all these emotions that come from being thrown into this new reality and missing home. So I had a lot to think about as Kiri, and I had to work in a completely different way than I've ever worked. That was very exciting for me. And honestly, this really just reinforces everything we have seen with all the animals of Pandora seeming to be drawn to her aura. Even knowing she tamed a banshee by just asking it to be her friend. Just really makes it clear that she is going to be someone really special. If Eywa really had a hand in her birth, then she can be a messiah type figure in the vein of Jesus. I don't know if Cameron would be going for that, but with the name Eywa being itself a play on the word Yahweh, meaning God, but with God and Jesus being masculine, this would be going down the feminine route of that. We'll have to wait and see how this plays out. How did it feel being a Na'vi? I'm glad I had that experience because I think Grace preferred her avatar herself and her avatar life. And everything to do with the humans was a lot of BS. I'm just in awe of how Jim can come up with these incredibly complex, layered stories and relationships about this family. We may look blue, but I feel like the themes of this movie, of becoming refugees, having to leave home, and figure out how to live in this completely new environment, are so universal. It's so timely. All the challenges the family faces together as individuals and as a family. But there we go. Just a little over 2 weeks before we see the story unfold for ourselves. Let me know what you currently think about Kiri. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next video.